My name is Joanne, or as everyone knows me, Jo Reichel, and I'm truly honored to guide this service today and to be with you all, as always. If you're visiting us or new with us, welcome and thank you for sharing your morning. There's a guest book in the back of the sanctuary, and we would love for you to sign it if you will. There is coffee service that will be served after service downstairs. And, oh, okay, there we go. Lemonade outside. Creature of habit. So beautiful space outside, and if you have children that want to run around, there's some beautiful space in the back as well. There's so much happening at North Chapel, so please be sure to read your order of service or visit our website to keep updated on announcements and the happenings around town. And I believe Joanne has an announcement for the Red Cross. And while Joanne's coming up, yesterday during our board retreat, about a 4-hour long meeting, Mary has started us off with a really beautiful meditation. And just as we were deep into meditation, we heard the theme song from The Office. And I couldn't find my phone fast enough to shut it off. So I don't want you all to have that happen to you. So please be sure all your phones are turned off and silenced. Truth is funny.
Hi everyone, I'm Joanne. I work in the office if you haven't met me yet. I just want to remind you that there's a Red Cross blood drive here on Friday from 11:30 till 5, and they are still looking for a few more donors to sign up online at redcross.org. That's easy, and I hope to see you there. If you have any questions, come to me after. Thanks.
So while driving this week, I do a lot of driving throughout Vermont, and it's pretty amazing through all the seasons and what I see. I truly drive everywhere in Vermont, and the joy of my job is that I sell beer and wine, so it's not a hardship at all. But while driving this week, I was contemplating our theme, which is the June flowering. And my train of thought began with thinking about talking to you all about how we transform, how we grow, how we heal, and how we flower throughout our lives at different stages of our lives. Then, as always, my train of thought was totally derailed. And when I was coming around a curve in a back road, I was struck by awe when I saw the mountainside. And seeing the mountainsides at different times of the day, it's just spectacular. And it's usually when I give a shout out to my God for a job well done, because it's crazy. So I was appreciating this and then decided I had to focus back on my driving. And I noticed a tree, and it was a scraggly tree. You know, it had some broken branches, it was some bare, in spots. And yet it was standing really majestically on its own and doing its job. It supports the ecosystem above the ground and supports each other below the ground with nutrients and water, which I'm going to take a sip of right now. It would be hard to believe for people who know me, but I'm incredibly shy, so please bear with me on this one. But when I looked at that tree, I thought of us as individuals. We're imperfectly perfect. We do what we can with what we have to be who we are. And yet when we come together with like-minded trees, where I'm from Philly, so I can't tell you specific species of trees, but when we come together, we then form a group, and that group from afar looks beautiful because we're covering each other's, imperfections. Where one of us can't come up and do what we need to do, another in our group does. And the same thing is with flowers. You see a flower on the side of the road, and it's beautiful. You see a group of flowers, you're like, wow, that's amazing. Yellow flowers carpeting, fields and all this, and it just becomes more beautiful the bigger the group becomes. And that's what brings me to this congregation. It's the same thing. We're all individuals. We're all perfect. And when we get to know each other, we're freaking amazing. I'm from Philadelphia, so just keep that in mind as well. But it's true. We are, and it's when you get to know each other and you sit around a table with each other, I'm just floored with people's histories, what they've been through, how alike we all are, how we're all nervous about the same things, like speaking in front of a group, or, just really things that we're struggling within it. People may not see, but it's just this whole flowering, of this joy is really this congregation, this church, and this safe place. So that's my thought for today. And we're going to sit in a quiet meditative prayer.
Good morning. Before we get started, I wanted to share with you, I had a beautiful meeting this week with one of our members, with Natalie. Is Natalie here? With Natalie, who's in the back. We went over to the Woodstock Inn and at 4:30, and we had coffee. And we talked about planning a session about Gaza. So we're gonna meet on Wednesday. Did we decide Wednesday? I know that that's also pizza night. But we'll figure out how to manage our time. But we're gonna meet on Wednesday to plan about how to present this in a broader group. If you're interested in being part of that meeting on Wednesday, let me know, and then we'll figure out what to do. I know that weighs heavy on our hearts, so see me after this service. The second thing I wanted to share with you is that I'm part of a sermon writing group. Okay, so ministers get exhausted and scared genuinely when things like there's war and conflict in the world, and I lose a lot of sleep and gain a lot of absence of color in my beard, wondering how the ministry can be of service to what is happening. So I meet on a weekly basis with 7 other ministers from across the country, one of whom is named Molly Hoosh Gordon, who is our minister at our sister congregation in Columbia, Missouri. She was asked by the president of the Unitarian Universalist Association, whose name is Sophia Betancourt. She was asked by President Sophia if she would deliver the Sunday service at the National Assembly, which is called General Assembly, in June, which is a great, great honor. That whole team, all seven of them, minus one who's got a conflict, is coming to Vermont at the end of the month during General Assembly. They'll be gone on that Sunday, so you won't get to meet them. But for all of the conference, we're going to spend in my home. Partly because Molly was generous with her time, and she said, if I'm doing the Sunday service, I want each of you to be a part of it. So that Sunday, we're trying to figure out how to let that national service be seen by all of us. So we're still working out the details about how to do that, but I'll be back in touch with how to do it. There are beautiful answers to difficult questions and beautiful responses if we know how to trust each other to find them. Does your spirit fly these days? We need love to fly. Love lifts us. Love frees us like a zephyr, like a magical wind beneath our wings. We are carried higher by a love that knows no bounds. It is a rare and a beautiful thing to reach such heights. Does your spirit fly these days? I hope that it does. I hope that you answer yes, but yes is not always the true answer. There are times when we are grounded and we just can't fly. Our wings are sometimes broken, sometimes all we can do, sometimes the very best that we can do is to take the time for our bodies and for our souls to recover and to heal. And then we can get back to flying again. Maybe not so far at first, but then we'll fly, and it will be spectacular and fantastic. The average miracles of life are often spectacular and fantastic. The process of healing, which often is what we deeply long to do, and which is what we are doing all of the time. The process of healing is a great example of an average miracle. It's not important in the slightest to look for that which cannot possibly be found. It is important to search without ceasing for that which is rare, singular, unique, and most beautiful in the world. North Chapel got a makeover. Did you see her brand new face? She's glowing these days, most especially at night when she's all lit up with the colors of the rainbow. It's true, thanks to our dear Jane, whose idea it was to purchase solar-powered lights in the colors of the rainbow flag.
Couldn't get them all though.
So that they could be placed poetically, artistically, and most lovingly on the southern side of the church, on the street-facing side of the church, in front of the building, so that this week, during Woodstock's first Pride Festival, North Chapel's heart could show. Did any of you have the good fortune of seeing it? Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. And when you saw it, did your heart sing out a little bit? Did something in your spirit fly within you when you saw it? Gabe DeLeon, who is the lead organizer of the festival, said that when he saw it, he cried. He told me, and I was like, yes, I don't know why. I felt really terrible. I was like, you cried? That's awesome! He told me yesterday on the green, after the high heel race on Elm Street had ended, and before the drag brunch in the Woodstock Inn had begun, he told me how happy he was that it was happening, and I told him that his happiness was contagious. Woodstock's wild note is singing so beautifully these days. In a piece entitled Horses, a poet writes, "We will fly way up high where the cold wind blows, or in the sun, laughing, having fun with all the people that she knows. And if the situation should keep us separated, you know that the world won't fall apart, and you will free the beautiful bird that's caught inside your heart. Can't you hear her? 'Cause she cries so loud and casts her wild note over water and cloud. That's the way it's gonna be, little darling. We'll go riding with the horses, way up in the sky, little darling, and if you fall, I'll pick you up." Woodstock's wild note is singing, and the poetry continues. "You will grow, and until you go, I'll be right there by your side. And even then, just whisper the wind, and she will carry up your ride. I hear all the people of the world in one bird's lonely cry, and I see them trying every way they know how to make their spirit fly. Does your spirit fly these days? Do you experience a lightness in your heart?" Good morning and good Sunday. I hope this new day finds you well. Today is Sunday, June the 2nd, and the title of this morning's reflection is Pride, roses, patience, and the awesome power of love. Pride because of the Pride Festival in Woodstock that is happening right now. Roses because June is the month of the rose, who is like the king of the jungle in some kind of a way, who is like the queen of the flower gardens all over New England. Patience because true love takes its time to come to us sometimes. And the awesome power of love because I never got over the Huey Lewis and the News song that was famous in the 1980s. It's called The Power of Love. The first time you feel it, it might make you sad. The next time you feel it, it might make you mad. But you'll be glad, baby, when you've found that the power of love makes the world go round, and you don't need money, and you don't need fame, and you don't need no credit card to ride this train. It's strong and it's sudden and it can be cruel sometimes, but it might just save your life. That's the power of love. I'm resisting dancing right now. So what does it really mean to celebrate love? What does it truly mean to be love's ally? In our world these days, what are the barriers that stand in the way of love? We find ways of removing them, and when we do so, does not beautiful heaven await? The heaven that we get to live out right here on earth, right here now. I need to share a story. I may have shared this before, but it bears repeating if I have, concerning the troubles that we're in. When I lived in Maryland, I served a church that was just stateside of Washington, D.C. And a young, spiritually and politically conservative man came into my office, having made an appointment the week before. He didn't look like any of the members of the church that I served. He was dressed much more formally. He was quite comfortable with himself, but he did not fit into the norm of the church. He wore an Argyle V-neck sweater vest over a checker-patterned shirt with a striped tie. It was a lot. He was politically conservative. He was religiously conservative. A fearful liberal might have been tempted to pass judgment on him too quickly, as too Southern or perhaps too Christian in a prejudicial sort of way that rarely benefits us, that rarely engenders dignity. Not that that has ever stopped any of us from judging other people too quickly. I'm not chastising anyone. I have plenty of healing to do in this aspect of life. I'm not saying, I'm just saying, if you know what I'm trying to say. Some of us in New England use that saying, and I really don't know what it means. But I use it when I'm trying to get away with something and wanting to remain cute. Maybe some of you are like me, maybe not. The point is, the young Southern conservative Christian wanted to meet me in my office, having made an appointment the week before. We greeted each other kindly. We exchanged cordial hellos and how are yous, gentle I'm fines and thank yous, and general graciousness. Then our conversation got more meaningfully underway. He said, this might surprise you, but I really enjoy Unitarian Universalism. And he was right, that did surprise me. I was surprised and curious. I wanted to know more. I was glad when he continued. He said, I admire your 7 principles. In my much more conservative Christian faith, we believe many of these same things ourselves. There are specific great differences, of course, but we were generally agreed in the main about the inherent worth and dignity, about justice and compassion, about the free and responsible search for truth and meaning, even about the interdependent web of all existence. We also disagreed as well. The structure of this young man's faith was fairly fundamentalist, and I countered him, chiming in, we don't have a prescribed dogma in Unitarian Universalism. We encourage and we honor direct life experience with the holy, however and wherever we truly find it. Our practice of faith encourages us to reason, to live our lives freely, and to think for ourselves. And he laughed. which made me nervous. And he said, "I like you liberals." I felt like I was about 15 years old. He said, "You think that we're so different that we conservatives don't think for ourselves." Once again, he was right. I was getting schooled. By that point, I felt like I was 13 and getting younger. I felt uncomfortable and intrigued, and I thought to myself, I kind of like this guy, even though he really is getting on my nerves. I didn't say that out loud, of course. Out loud, I said, "Friend, please tell me why you chose to come to see me today." What he said surprised me again very much. He said, "I can get with you on just about everything that Unitarian Universalists believe, with one exception. I don't know how you guys justify gay marriage." "Marriage equality?" I said, correcting his language. He said, "Yeah, marriage equality. What did I say?" I said, "You said gay marriage, and that phrase suggests to some of us that gay marriage is an aberration, that regular marriage is real, and that gay marriage is an aberration." He said, "For me, marriage is between a man and a woman, and that's just the basis of family, as I understand it." So I asked him a personal question. I said, "Friend, are you now married?" And he shook his head and said no. He was not married. And then I stepped over the line. Okay. I said, "Look, man, I never do this, but I need to break one of my own rules right now. I never play matchmaker, but I have just the right woman for you. And she's a member of this congregation." He was taken aback, which didn't surprise me. I was even taken aback to hear those words coming out of my mouth. He was gracious and he was polite in his response, more gracious and polite than I had been with what I was doing. He said, "Thank you, and I'm flattered, but I'm uncomfortable being set up with someone that I don't even know." And I pressured him. I insisted. I said, "No, man, I'm really serious. I know this is weird, but you have to trust me. You have to believe me this one time. Do me a favor and do yourself a favor, man. Just come to church on Sunday, and I will find a way to introduce you to this woman without insinuating that I think that the two of you are perfect for one another. And if you don't agree with me 100% wholeheartedly, if you don't think that I'm absolutely right about this, and if you don't see what I'm trying to say right away, immediately, then just excuse yourself and leave discreetly, and no one will be the wiser. I'm telling you, you have to trust me on this one." My young conservative visitor was clearly uncomfortable with my behavior and with my plan. He stuck to his faith, and he stuck to his guns, and he refused the offer and said politely as he could. He said, "I appreciate your caring," and I interrupted him. And I insisted again, like a dog with a bone. I pushed and I prodded. I arguably broke the boundaries of decorum. I was bound and determined to succeed. I don't think that you would have recognized my demeanor. My new friend was dissuaded by my attempt. Once again, he stuck to his faith, and he stuck to his guns, and he refused my offer again, slightly less politely than he had before. He said once again, and like I said before, "I do appreciate your caring, but I just can't do it." I asked him why, and he said, "I just believe that I should be the person, not you, who decides who I should marry." He just said, "I believe that I should be the person, not you, who should decide who I will marry." Satisfied, I just sat there in the silence and waited for him to hear the power of his own words. I believe that I should be the person who decides who I should marry. When he heard himself, he smiled at me, and I at him. For the first time in our meeting, both of us were free. He and I together found within us a power that freed us from ourselves, freed us from the cells that we didn't even know we were in. That's the power of love. He and I together found within us the power to open up our minds and the power to change our hearts. The river of life that informs our faiths seemed to change directions in an instant. And we saw this for ourselves. And we saw it with one another, and both of us just laughed out loud. In the midst of the violence that's happening in our world, it is so important to laugh right out loud. It is so important to understand the meaning of true connection. It is so important to understand the power of love. I want to close with the words of a song. And I want to introduce it by sharing a story about Bill Sinkford, who was the first African-American president of the Unitarian Universalist Association. And he was presiding over the UUA in Boston when marriage equality was before the courts. And his colleagues, his religious colleagues in Boston, chastised him for being so liberal. The more fundamentalist ones did anyway. Chastised him for being so more liberal and said that he was destroying the institution of marriage by supporting marriage equality. And he said, how could you do that with the power of your faith? And he said, I don't think that I was doing that. What I think that I was doing was standing on the side of love. So the closing poem is a song by David Wilcox. And the words are these. At your church, they ask for volunteers to make a presence in the park. That's where the wicked plan to demonstrate and carry signs and set a spark. And someone behind you heaved a stone that caught the thin man behind his ear. So now there's blood upon the sign that said there's nothing here to fear. Wrath of God, somebody yelled, will punish all of those just like him. But if you look back 2,000 years, you'll see this happens all again. Back then they'd say, these soldiers walk on sacred ground. This land is our history and our home. They have no right to be around. They are the evil force of Rome. And just how strong this change of heart must be, the one that Jesus once described. Kindness to your enemy. Carry his pack an extra mile when fearless love makes you cross the border. And your mind snaps back to where you stand. Your church is here to fight a cause. And at your feet, a fallen man whose head is cradled in his arms. And though his blood contains his death, and though the lines are drawn in hate, you drop your sign of Bible verse and help the wounded stand up straight. And yes, the high religious still will scorn, just like they did all that time back. They'll say, you help the other side. They saw you haul that soldier's pack. And how could you carry that man's sign? In your heart, the choice was clear. You didn't join the other side. The battle lines just disappeared when fearless love makes you cross the border. Does your spirit fly these days? We need love to fly. Love lifts us. Love frees us. Like a zephyr, a magical wind beneath our wings, carried higher by a love that knows no bounds. Thank you, my conservative friend from just outside of DC. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen.